All right, welcome everyone. Let's get started. Thanks for joining us. This is an event to talk about our four-year Bachelor of Journalism Honours program. And my name is Tim Curry. I'm director of the Journalism School, and I am here with three other people. Leslie Lowe is an instructor of our main instructor for first year in Foundations of Journalism. That's the first year course. She's going to talk about that course in just a couple of minutes. Also be joined by Josh Young, who's a graduate of our program, and he's going to talk about the student experience in a few minutes. And the person you're not going to see is Anna Candido, and she's off to my right here, and she's running the show here. So you won't see Anna, but if you get text or email communications, they're coming from her. So you will meet her when you get here. We're going to talk here for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions, and this event should go about 35-40 minutes. So is everyone able to hear me okay? If you can't, you should be able to open up the chat window there, and if you could just shoot a message and let me know if there are any technical issues here, and we'll try to resolve those. Otherwise, let's get started. All right, so we are in the boardroom here at the University of King's College. That's on the second floor of this building here. It's the King's A&A building. And what you can't see here is the snow outside that has turned to rain in the past 2 hours. So it's an absolute mess here. So fortunately, we're looking at the nice green grass from early fall. The journalism school is directly above us, but there's also some journalism facilities in the basement of this building. Our audio studio and our video studio is downstairs. If you had a rock, you could pick it up and practically hit Dalhousie University with it, because this is King's College. This is in a quad. The library is directly across from us. There are residences on either side. We've got a gym and a new academic building, and it's all right in a square. But right behind those buildings is Dalhousie University, and you've got the arts building nearby, and you've got Dalhousie's professional buildings, medicine, law, all of that. So that's one of the great things about King's is you've got the best of both worlds. You've got a small university that's smaller than a lot of high schools, but you're also on the campus of a much larger university. And of course, you are students of both of those universities. So let me talk just briefly about the program itself before we start, about the school itself, excuse me, before we start talking about programs. So the thing to know is that at King's here, we are on the practical side of journalism education. So we focus on the practice of journalism. So you aren't going to be writing a lot of essays here in the school. You're going to be doing reporting. There's not much of a media studies aspect to this program, but we have a strong reputation of being able to send our students directly into the newsroom. So we spend a lot of time working through stories. And that's what you're going to get here. You're going to get the small school experience. So the relationship is more editor and reporter than it is student professor here. So we're pretty casual here at King's. I'm Tim. I'm not Mr. Curry. I'm not Professor Curry, and I really hope no one calls me Dr. Curry. We're just not like that here. So our doors are always open, and we spend most of the time sitting down at a table, working through stories, talking about them, bringing up the story either in the editing screen or on the web and going through it. So we're going to give you journalism schools, but you can take those skills to many other careers. So certainly, most of our students go into journalism, but a lot of our students don't. And that's one of the great things is that, even if you don't consider a career in journalism, there are a whole bunch of careers that you can take your journalism skills and apply to completely other fields. So whether you work in communications or in social media, or work as a researcher or work in marketing, you can take those skills to a number of careers. So Leslie's going to come and sit with me now, and we're going to talk about the program itself. You should know that the BJH is one of 3 journalism programs that we have here. So the Bachelor of Journalism Honours program, this is what we're talking about today. That's the program mainly for students coming out of high school. But we also have a 1-year Bachelor of Journalism program for students who already have an undergraduate degree of some kind. And we have a Master of Journalism program for students who already have a journalism degree. So those students are here, and they're intermixed with with various courses while you're here as well. So the course that you're going to take in first year, there are two of them, and they're called Foundations of Journalism 1 and Foundations of Journalism 2. And you're taking those courses while you're taking foundation year. And my colleague Leslie Lowe here taught those courses this past year. Leslie is a freelance journalist and an author. And Leslie, why don't you tell us about first year?
Okay, thanks, Tim. So Foundations of Journalism 1 and Foundations of Journalism 2 are comprise your first year of journalism at King's. The main thing I was thinking about this and I wanted you to know is it's fun. We have a lot of fun. We take it very seriously, but we also have fun. So you'll never be in a situation where you're sitting in a class for 2 hours staring at me or anyone else just talking at you. It's very, very interactive. We watch videos, we look at social media feeds. We do a lot in the class that helps ground the ideas that we're trying to get across in the class in a good and exciting way that you can engage with. That said, journalism is really important and we take it very seriously because we believe that journalism is one of the main underpinnings of democracy. And we know, you know, I'm sure from following news and from living in the world that journalism helps to combat forces that are working against democracy. So when we can uncover information, that's really important. We look a lot in Foundations of Journalism at the impact of political decisions that are opaque and don't allow for citizens to understand information. We look a lot at the impact of social media on the world, and we look at how journalism is an antidote to those things. We talk a lot about fake news. We talk about TikTok, we talk about Trump, we talk about Trudeau, we talk about newsroom diversity, and we talk about a lot of the things that can help improve journalism as it moves forward and strengthen it, and how you can do that as journalists or even as people who have a foundation of journalism understanding through your degree. In terms of the nuts and bolts of the class, we split it half and half. It's theoretical and practical. Which is to say, when I said earlier, you know, we do a lot of we have a lot of conversations and discussions. We look at the theory behind journalism, the ethics, the philosophy, the history. We do that in a fun way. The other half of the class is very, very where the rubber hits the road practical. So we help improve your writing skills. And the way we do that is in small groups, which we have found makes a really big difference. It makes a really big difference to students' ability to improve as writers, but also practice the skills of journalism that we are teaching. And Tim used the term editor-reporter relationship. That's very much what we maintain. We have very small groups. You are edited on a weekly basis by professional editors, and our instructors are people who work in the field, and they will edit your work and help you move forward in your writing. The other thing I wanted to talk about is FIP, because if you're coming in to do a Bachelor of Journalism honors degree, you're taking foundation year as well. And students sometimes wonder about that. It's actually quite a symbiotic relationship. We know that the journalism skills that we teach, the way you are engaging with information, but also parsing information, helps you understand the texts that you're reading in FIP. And the same also applies. We really feel that having a strong foundation of understanding about the Western world through FIP helps inform the journalism that you're practicing in the first year class. So it really does work very well.
Great, thanks. So the next slide here is a map of our BJH degree. So Leslie's talked about foundations of journalism. We start giving you reporting skills beginning in second year. So the first course there is Introduction to Reporting, and we are going to teach you how to cover a meeting. We're going to talk about where you get information online that doesn't involve simple Google searches. Intro to reporting is mainly in-class assignments. So we're going to teach you how to record information, how to ask good questions. Our students typically go off campus to City Hall. They'll meet the mayor, have a tour of City Council, that type of thing. Intermediate reporting is the next course, and that is where you learn to report for the public. So you're going to certainly get more reporting experience, but you'll also start working with our publishing platform, and you will get your first published bylines. So you're going to need to take good photos for every story that you publish in the school. So you'll also take an introduction to visual storytelling course. And that is where we're going to give you instruction in how to take good still photos, and also the beginnings of how to tell a visual story, certainly for social media. So that is second year, and third year, you get more journalism. So Advanced Reporting 1, that's where we give you more research skills, particularly data skills. So we're going to introduce you to data contained in spreadsheets. So we'll talk about how to analyze a budget document, how to find information in public records, how to interpret statistics. And Advanced Reporting 2 is where we give you an introduction to audio and video. So in that course, you'll be learning how to ask questions for live interviews, and you'll also get your hands on our broadcast cameras, where you get skills involved with shooting and editing then. The final journalism course you have to take in third year is Ethics and Law for Journalists, and that's basically what it says. So you'll get a grounding in ethical practice for journalism, and also you'll get an understanding of libel law, and also some of the pitfalls like dealing with publication bans. So you have to take 2 electives as well. Leslie teaches a bunch of those. She teaches creative nonfiction, and she teaches freelance writing. You don't have to take those, but you do have to take 2. You can also take great journalists, or opinion writing, or science in the media. We're going to be offering sports journalism for the first time in a couple of years. We'll be offering that in the fall term. Or you can take copy editing. There are more on the list there. Then we move on to fourth year, and that is where it is unique in Canada. So we get you all day, every day in the journalism workshops. This is the signal, and I encourage you to take a look at the signal, because that's the best way to understand what we do in the school here. You'll get a sense of what is of kind of stories that are done in all 3 programs. So what you see here is largely the senior students working on from the news workshop, but there are also long form features that our Master of Journalism students are working on, and also some of our investigative stories from last year. So in fourth year, you start off with Honours Project, and that's where you produce a long form feature on an issue in journalism. And you have 8 weeks to produce this, and it's one of the things you're going to graduate with and be most proud of, because it's a highly researched a piece that often gets republished elsewhere. And then you move on to the workshops. So as I mentioned, you have to take the news workshop, and these workshops are six weeks long. So we'll typically start it with a story meeting, and you'll pitch stories, and you'll get assigned some stories, and you'll go down, cover a protest, you'll cover a news conference, you will talk to interesting people that are doing something in a new and interesting way, and you'll cover the legislature and protests and all of that. So you have to take the news workshop. And the next slide here, you'll see that one of the great things that happened this fall is that we got to cover a murder trial from start to finish. So our students started off by covering jury selection, and over a 6-week period that happened just to time perfectly with our workshop, they were able to cover the final wrap up by the lawyers, and the guilty verdict at the end. It was a fascinating case of a woman and connections to the local drug trade. There was this guy called Wayne Bruce, who people were calling Batman, who was involved in this. So it was fascinating, and most of our students hadn't covered a court case like that before. But you can also take the video workshop. So this is Carla and Travis. They're fourth year BGH students, and they're doing a live stream. They did this about 10 days ago from Killam Library. So Killam Library is Dalhousie's main library. And it's actually one of the few times our students are in a library. So most of for our students, the library for them is the people of Halifax and the documents and the various institutions. But Travis and Carla, in the video workshop, they were doing a live stream, and we do these to YouTube, and we mix in prepackaged reports. So Carla and Travis learned how to perform on camera, obviously how to ask good questions and structure a video story. You can also take the audio workshop. So the audio workshop, students work on 90-second news reports, and they put together a podcast twice a week. So these podcasts typically have a theme. But this time of year, we tend to do one on a Valentine's theme, where students are looking at romance and love, and we'll talk to researchers about what love means, and talk to people in Halifax about whether they care about Valentine's Day. The podcasts are a different way of telling stories. Our students mix in music and longer form interviews to really create an atmosphere for the listener. So again, go to the Signal and take a look, and you'll find the audio content in iTunes, and you can listen to that, of course, in your mobile device, and you'll also find the video content on YouTube. So still in our 4th year, our students can take workshops. So they can take, advanced workshops. They can take audio documentary, they can take video documentary, they can take investigative, they can take feature. They can also take a creative nonfiction workshop as well in this final year as well. So you get a chance to meet a lot of people when you're here in the program. So on the top left there, that's Duncan McHugh, who's the host of CBC's Cross Country Checkup on CBC Radio. That's a national show out of Toronto. He spoke to our students on reporting in Indigenous communities in October. And we also had our big public lecture with Craig Silverman. He's the guy at the bottom there. And he is the news editor for BuzzFeed Canada, BuzzFeed News, excuse me, North America. And he talked about misinformation in social networks and fake news and the impact on elections. It was a fascinating lecture. And lastly, on your far right there, this is an image of Big Day. So this is the wrap up to your journalism degree. And it's a day in which students show off the work they've done in their final workshops, which is a culmination of everything they've learned in their 4 years here. And it's a great way to cap it off. And we're very proud of what our students do. And we bring in the community to share with us, all that our students have accomplished. So just before we go to the questions, why don't we bring in Josh Young here. So as I mentioned, Josh is a graduate of ours from just last May, and Josh was in the 4-year journalism program, and he's going to talk here about the student experience. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, hi everyone. So the great thing I find about the first year of King's Journalism School is you get into the university, but you're not overwhelmed by the course load in your first year. In most other schools, you're going to be doing 5 courses in 2 semesters, which equals to about 10 classes in a normal year. But at King's, you're only doing 2. You're doing the foundation year program, and you're doing the Foundations of Journalism program. So it really is, you can really manage your time well because your schedule stays the same every single day. You'll have the foundation year program on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then you'll have the Foundations of Journalism class on Tuesday. So, I mean, for me, I was done my Foundations of Journalism and Foundation year program, excuse me, in the early afternoon. So that allowed the later afternoon and the entire night for me to do schoolwork, which was, fantastic. So you really get a good feel of how to be a university student. And then your second year, you kind of jump into that more traditional 5 classes per semester mold. But by then you have a good understanding of what university is, and you're able to adjust pretty quickly. The other thing I really like about the journalism program is you get a really good hands-on experience by doing it. Tim has a great line that at King's you learn by doing journalism, not studying it. So in every class you're going to be doing as the main part of your 4-year degree, you're going to be going out and writing stories. Right there is my kind of collection of stories that I wrote for the Signal. As you see, I wrote about doctor shortage. I've written about the World Juniors. I've written about the Viola Desmond bill that was released last year. It was a big deal in Halifax because this is where Viola Desmond is from. So you get to write about a wide variety of different topics, which makes you more nimble as a journalist, I would say. And it also gives you a good profile before you even leave school. You have a handful of stories you can tell employers, "Oh, this is what I can do." And these stories are really high quality. Personally, myself, I've left King's Journalism as a part of two award-winning teams. The one where you see the tackling the doctor shortage, that was a part of a bigger project where myself and about 10 other students wrote about 2,000 word stories on the healthcare situation in Nova Scotia. And we won a silver award for, let me just make sure I get this straight. It was the Canadian Online Publishing Awards for that piece. So the teachers and the professors here really take pride in making sure the work you're producing is of the highest quality, and you become better journalists because of their direction.
Yeah, we won that award just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're very proud of our students that way. So great, thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, let's go to questions. We'll pull up the chat window here. And I see, Aiden, you've asked a question. Do we need to understand math well in order to be successful in advanced reporting 1? That's funny. I was reading a bio of one of the journalists I follow, Rob Carrick, who writes personal finance news and blogs for the Globe and Mail. And in his bio, he says, how did I get into journalism? I chose journalism because I was bad at math, which is a bit of a cliche. No, you don't need to be a whiz in math, but the thing about everything is that we teach you how. So certainly, learning to understand a spreadsheet and understand budget documents, we're going to walk you through that. And like most things, it isn't as difficult as it might seem once you understand how to do it. So a lot of this stuff isn't rocket science, but most people don't know how to do it. So we'll show you that for sure.
Yeah, and we start that in the first year class also. We do a numeracy lecture and we get students working on really basic percentages and understanding statistics and studies and how to look at them critically. So.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we look at is the various studies that are out there. That claim that proves that cancer can be, this cures cancer. In many cases, we'll go through the study and look at how was that study conducted? How many people did they actually survey, and how did they interpret those results? So that's part of what journalists do on a daily basis. Stephen, you have a question. What are the options for co-op and internship? Well, that is an excellent question because I forgot to talk about it. And that was the thing that we do after big day at the end of your journalism career is you go on an internship. So you have to do the internship. It's pass fail. And our students are thinking about that right now, our graduating students. So they are, we pass along many internship possibilities. So a lot of the local media here in town take interns every year. The Chronicle Herald, CBC. The Chronicle Herald is our daily newspaper here in Halifax. We have an alt weekly, The Coast, which takes interns every year. There are other media outlets as well. But a lot of our students choose their own internship, and they are investigating those right now. So with our help, they're contacting people, managing editors and producers to ask if they can take someone in Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, often wherever our students are from. And there's always one or two students who go overseas, go to England or go someplace in Europe as well. So it's really up to your imagination where you go.
Can I jump in here, Tim?
Absolutely.
So yeah, last year I did my internship at the Chronicle Herald here in Halifax, and I felt very prepared for it because of particularly the news workshop. The news workshop, I went in the class at 9 a.m., pitched stories, figured out how to write stories for deadline, knew about like 3 or 3:30 I had to start writing in order to get my story done on time. So by the time I went to the Chronicle Herald later in the year, I kind of knew how everything was going to work. It didn't feel like a foreign environment to me. I guess the only big difference was the people I was working with were the same age as my parents, which was a bit of an adjustment. But besides that, I was able to make a quick adjustment, and I think I wrote 15 stories for them in a month. So it was great. It was really valuable.
Great. Any more questions? Ask away. I'm wondering, Leslie, do you want to talk about well, either of the electives you teach, freelancing or
Sure.
creative nonfiction? A lot of our students freelance. So one is they're working on stories. Some of them are for the Signal, some of them aren't, but we encourage our students to make as much money as they can. So you'll see our student stories. We had one of our BJ students sell a story in the Chronicle Herald. She'd only been in the program 4 weeks. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I teach creative nonfiction. So think of that as using the skills of fiction writing, but translated into journalism. So you're writing true stories. And those are small 3rd-year workshop, or not workshops, but they're elective classes, but I run it as a workshop. So we're critiquing each other's work. We're reading a lot of great nonfiction work, and we're practicing that writing. So I love teaching that class. It's one of my favorites. I just started teaching this year freelance journalism, which has been also a really good class and a really useful class for students. So the reality of the matter is that if you intend to be a journalist, or even if you're doing journalism and you plan to do something else later, the reality is you'll probably end up freelancing to some degree. I'm a professional freelancer. It's my full-time job as well as teaching here. But what we do in that class is we look at very much, how do you pitch stories? That's a big, big one we talk about. How do you pitch stories? How do you understand news value? How do you look at a publication and decide the things that the editors want and the things that the readers want for those publications, and how do you successfully pitch them? We also talk about really, really simple but crucial stuff like time management, how to prepare invoices. We talk about money. We talk about relationships with editors. So all of that. So that was a new class for me this year. We had a lot of students join up for the first year. It was a great class, and it was really good.
Yeah, and freelancing was actually a course that came out of what students wanted. So
That's right, yeah.
at the end of last year, a number of students said, geez, I'd really like to learn more about freelancing. So we talk about freelancing in the program, and as it applies to selling an audio piece to CBC. Some of our students had their documentary aired on the documentary show on Sunday morning here just a couple of weeks ago. So we touch on that. But we've never had a chance to really look into freelancing. So
that's right, yeah. And I mean, we do also talk about that in Foundations of Journalism. We talk about freelancing. We have a lecture on that because we know that our students are really, along the way, even in first year, you're practicing journalism. You're going out, you're interviewing people, you're writing about the stories that you want to write about. And we really encourage our students to sell the pieces that they write for us. After we give them a mark back, it's theirs to sell. So a lot of those first year pieces run in the Dow Gazette. That's a student newspaper over at Dow. Some of them run in the Watch. I even know my creative nonfiction students who are producing 3,000 to 5,000 word pieces. Some of those have run on the cover of the Alt Weekly paper in Halifax, the Coast. Yeah, so there is definitely in freelancing, but all through, I think we try to push a very practical side of the work that you're doing, because you're producing this great work. So why not get it out there as widely as you can, whether that's in the Signal, which is amazing and well read, but in other publications too.
Absolutely. So you're publishing the Signal, but that is integrated with Google News. So if you're in Halifax and you're looking for local news, you're going to see the Signal come up there right beside CBC and the Chronicle Herald. Another question from Stephen. I'm taking communications technology at school right now, and I really enjoy layouts for magazine and articles. Do we have that opportunity to touch on that in the program? Interesting to say that. We've actually just transitioned away from print just in the past 2 years. So Josh was the first year actually with he talked about working on a package of features. We moved to online magazine type of course last year. So we just find our audience for printed publications just declining every year. So we made that switch last year. Now, we use the Adobe suite of software, which has Adobe InDesign in it. And we have our multimedia instructor, Jeff Harper, knows InDesign inside and out. And we're going to use a lot of the Adobe products. So we use Photoshop for editing photos. We use Adobe Audition in our audio workshop. We use Premiere in our video workshop. So you get a chance to use all of those. So we don't specifically focus on print layouts anymore, but there's a chance to pick people's brain here for as long as you're here to learn that. So
Can I
yeah.
just add something? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's very tangentially, but I will say this is important. The skills of ComTech, that when you're studying ComTech are visual, right? And you're not, while you may not be doing layout, it is very valuable to think about stories visually, as Tim already discussed. And that's a really good skill to have.
What I was going to say is I spent 2 years as a sports editor at the Dalhousie Gazette, and we always needed someone to lay out our newspaper. So there are opportunities outside of the classroom environment to go out and work on newspaper or magazine outline. I'm sure the Watch would also be interested in having someone around who is interested in that sort of hobby. So if you want to do that outside of the classroom, there's definitely opportunities for you to explore that.
Another question here from Aiden. If you could give incoming first-year students one piece of advice, what would it be? Well, let me say to start off, I'd say consume as much news much journalism as you can before you get here. It's difficult for us to start cold in first year, and if you have some exposure to journalism before you get here, it helps immensely because news has a rhythm to it. We talk about those beginning in first year. Leslie's going to talk about what's the inverted pyramid, how do you integrate quotes and research into a story? What's a lead? All of this. So, once you understand what these elements are, you see them in journalism all the time. You see, okay, there's the broad beginning, and then, okay, now they're bringing in the real person, and then we bring in statistics, and whether you're telling a print story or whether you're telling an audio story, a lot of it's the same. So if you understand that rhythm before you get here, things make a lot more sense a lot more quickly. So I would say, consume journalism, and that helps.
Yeah. I mean, you would never go to study how to write a novel with never writing a novel. So it is very much the same. Okay. My one piece of advice is to just remember all of the instructors in first year. So this year we have me and we have 3 other instructors who work with students directly. We are all here, not because we're forced to be here. We're here because we love to teach and we love to help students. So at the beginning of every year, I always say to students, I'm really here. I'm here as your editor, but my only goal here is to help bring you along in terms of your writing and your understanding of journalism. But for me to do that, I have to be able to rely on you to say anything from, I did not understand anything you just said for the last hour, in which case I will sit down with you and I will explain it to you again if need be, or somebody emailing me at 11:45 saying, you know what, I just can't figure out where the comma goes in this sentence. That is a piece of cake for me to help you with. So that would be my one piece of advice, is remember that all the instructors first year, all the way through, in fact, but it is applicable, especially to first years. Remember that we're here to help you. And that's the reason we want to be here. So you should rely on us.
As for me, when you get into journalism and as a journalism student, there's kind of a culture of hustle and doing a lot of extracurricular work to try to get yourself ahead. And yes, it is important to do, and it could be a lot of fun. Like my 2 years, or I spent 4 years at the Dalhousie Gazette, but 2 years as a paid employee with them, were a lot of fun. But just make sure you also spend time doing something else that you enjoy, whether it's playing video games, knitting, going out to the park with your friends. Just make sure you put some balance into your life and don't do journalism 24/7. You're just going to burn yourself out and not really have a ton of fun in university.
We have another question here. Sarah asks, what if I'm socially anxious and kind of bad at talking to people, but journalism interests me? Is that a good option? Absolutely. There's a running joke that the worst party out there is a party of journalists. Journalists are horrible at making small talk and meeting people, but what they can do is they can put on the mask and say, okay, it's time to go to work, and also understand, as Leslie talked about, why they're asking the questions. They're doing it in the public interest, and they really have a deep-seated desire to help people. And we help people not by literally, advocating for them or doing something with them. We help people by telling stories and highlighting the challenges so that other people understand them, so that other people can take action. And a lot of this is difficult to do, and in many cases it is kind of tough to pick up the phone and phone people you don't know, but we don't throw you in cold. We don't say, go talk to the mayor and ask him this question, in first year. We lead up to it. So, what we'll do is we'll talk about, how do you ask good questions? And, how do you make a good email query if you want to interview, and how do you structure it and introduce yourself and introduce your story and tell them what deadline you're working on and what kind of information you need, and how do you phone someone up and ask for an interview. So all of this, we're all kind of socially anxious on some level, and it's just something that you learn. And the great thing about it is that you need this skill in life, right? And it's hard not to deal with people. So, it's a good skill to learn, and you'll come out of journalism school saying, I'm really not that scared of phoning someone up. It's just not that big a deal, right? And you'll find that it's something that you learn.
Yeah, I would echo that. In first year, we do take baby steps in terms of getting students out there, because we recognize everybody's comfort level is at a different place. We do really try to encourage students to remember that fact, that the reason we're asking the questions is not to be weird or to, find out personal information for no reason. We are asking people questions as professionals, and we expect student journalists to act as professionals and to be treated as professionals. We want our students to think of themselves as journalists, and they're working when they're going out to do interviews. So we teach you how to do those things, and we really help you get comfortable with going out to do the things that you may not be comfortable with. And I think that is scary for everybody to a certain extent. I will say I'm a professional journalist, and there are many days where I'm like, I really don't feel like interviewing this person, or I don't feel like making this cold call or walking up to this person. But then I remember the reason I'm doing it and what the outcome is, and that I'm trained to do it. And so I can. Yeah.
And the great thing about the focus of the school of publishing and broadcasting things is that you're not just hearing from us that you did a great story. You're hearing in the website comments, you're hearing on Twitter, you're hearing on Facebook, that people are saying, I'm so glad you wrote this story. I didn't know about this, and this information is really useful to me. So thanks so much. And you gain courage from that. Absolutely. From doing that, and you realize the impact you are having and the reason why you do it. Absolutely. So we still have room for more questions. Maybe I'll just talk about another program we have. It's not a degree program, but you might want to know about. It's a minor in journalism studies. So this is for students who are taking a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science, but they're taking a few journalism courses to have a minor concentration when they graduate. So the difference between the minor and the major in journalism is obviously the depth that you study in journalism. So our minor students take foundations that Leslie teaches. They take intro to reporting, but that's where they stop. They take electives, but they stop with the core courses. So they don't take the second year visual storytelling course, they don't take intermediate reporting, and they don't do the workshops or the honors project or the internship. So one of the differences is that our degree students get access to all of the equipment we have in the school. So we have 5 broadcast cameras that the students sign out, and all of the microphones and tripods that go with that. We have a good 20 audio recorders, professional quality audio recorders that students use to conduct interviews. We have a range of DSLR cameras that our students use with a variety of wide angle and zoom lenses that they use for their stories. And I think we have a GoPro, and we have laptops and a whole bunch of things to sign out. So all of this equipment is available to you, and that's only for our degree students doing the reporting that they do in later years. So, part of of going to school here is learning how to use this equipment, obviously, that, you know, is a hard skill that you can take to the workplace as well. Another question here, when are King students given the opportunity to begin taking courses with Dalhousie? So that's pretty much in second year. So your first year is all at King's here. If you're a BJH student, you're taking FIP and you're taking the Foundations of Journalism, and those are your 5 credits for first year. But in second year, you're taking 3 journalism credits out of your 10. So you might take 1 journalism elective as well, but by and large, you're taking Dalhousie credits. So actually, you're taking more courses at Dalhousie in your arts or science component of your journalism degree than you are journalism. And then you take progressively more journalism courses as you go up. But starting in second year is when you start with the other courses. For sure.
There's a question there too, above that one.
Oh, is it common for journalism students to go to law school after graduating? Yeah, a surprising number of our students actually, you know, see the parallel between serving the public and having those interviewing skills, having those written communication skills, and having those critical thinking skills that we use in journalism, and how easily applicable they are to law. One of the new initiatives we have this past year is that students in foundation year are pre-approved for law at the University of Calgary. So we've got an easy pathway to start off in foundation year, and that applies to journalism students as well, and a pathway to the University of Calgary. But yeah, I mean, you look on LinkedIn and you see what our students have done with their journalism degrees, and you definitely see a number of people who go to law there. So again, some students are, you know, focusing on media law as well, but there's just a lot of parallels between the kind of asking of questions and
The ability to distill information very quickly and capably.
absolutely, absolutely. Like it just those skills play on each other for sure.
And sorry, one thing I like to mention about you know, taking courses at Dalhousie is you have so much variety for what you want to study along with journalism by us having this connection between King's and Dalhousie. My class, you know, I did international development studies along with journalism. Others have done political science. Some have done contemporary studies. There's just a variety. I know someone was in sciences, I believe. So you can do anything in essentially the Faculty of Arts, Science, or Music, along with doing journalism here at King's. So you're not just boxed into journalism. There's a multiple subjects you can explore and try to either supplement your journalism degree, or maybe you just want to explore to see maybe you like this better than journalism. There's a lot of avenues you can take, and that's the advantage of coming to King's and doing journalism.
So that's what one of the things I didn't mention on the roadmap there, the BJH, is you have to take 2 Canadian content electives. So these are to give you an understanding of Canadian society so that you can report effectively. So you can take those in a variety of places. You can take Indigenous studies, you can take history, you can take political science, you can take any number of fields to round that out. So yeah, that's the whole purpose, is to give you that chance to follow your interest in arts and sciences. Another question. Earlier, you were talking about how analyzing news in groups was a big part of the course. How small are those groups typically, Leslie?
So in first year, the way we run it is Foundations of Journalism 1 and 2 is large group classes, which are, as I said, quite interactive. And we break into half that number. And we have another sort of interactive lecture. And then we break into even smaller groups, which are about a dozen students. And that's where that sort of very small group editing, conversations about, you know, looking through news stories to see how they're structured, looking at how leads are written, looking at how people have done interviews. That's where that work happens. And most weeks you're producing some writing and you are having a really fine edit from an instructor in the first year class who's helping you improve your writing. Josh, you're probably not so removed that you remember exactly what I'm talking about, and you can maybe speak to it too. But I think it's quite good to have those small groups, but you're looking at about a dozen in the smallest.
Yeah, it's great. You have you know, a group kind of a group of friends automatically. The group is small enough where you have to know each other, in the best sense of the word, and you're able to not only get advice and tips from Leslie or whoever your tutor is at the time, but also your fellow classmates, because you build a trust with one another. And then, in second and from second year all the way till fourth year, if you're doing the BJH program, you kind of stick with the same group of about 25 students throughout second and third year. So you form a very close bond. My class, we maybe once a month would go to someone's house and just have a party some night, or we have a text or a Facebook group where if their story was not going well, maybe his course wasn't getting back to them, we'd all give that student, guess, emotional support, or you can do this kind of thing. So the close connections you build with this program are fantastic because of how tight and small the class sizes are.
Got another question here. What's the average class sizes? Yeah, I mean, we're a small school, and Foundations is probably the biggest course. Well, how many people do you have in that course?
I'm blanking. I think we're at 80 for the whole group. And then, as I said, we break into the half and then into the 12 or 10 or 12 person group. But yeah, I think we're at about 80. Yeah,
so you'll rarely have a class above 20 in journalism.
Yeah.
Maybe 25 tops, but that's rare. So the workshops are maxed out at 15 students, but if you're in video, the max is 12. And most of the upper year courses are around 15 students. So yeah,
Freelance and creative are about 12, 15 in my groups.
That's standard, I think. So it's a very small school experience here, as I mentioned, one-on-one, and we see everyone in the hallways all the time. So it is a lot like high school.
In the best way.
In the best way.
I was going to say, you can't hide.
That's right. All right, so last chance to ask questions here. I said at the beginning, I thought we'd go 35 or 40 minutes, and we've blown through 40 minutes, so we should probably wrap up soon. So if anyone wants to ask a final question, we'll deal with that. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
Can I add something, Tim?
Absolutely.
So if you're thinking about applying to King's and haven't done it already, March 1st is the deadline for entrance scholarships. So I highly suggest trying to get your application in before March 1st.
Absolutely. And contact us if you've got questions. We're on the website. You can find our pictures there and our email addresses and our phones. So Leslie doesn't have an office here on campus, but she'll return your emails.
You can ask me your comma questions on Twitter.
It's really important, like I say, to know, no matter what program you choose, and going off to university is a big deal. And, we want students who have an interest in journalism and want to learn more about what we do. So the best way to do that is to come for a campus tour, or to phone us, or to email us, ask questions, because that's what we do in journalism, is we ask questions, and it's important for you to make the right choice in choosing your degree. So give us a buzz if you have anything to say that way. Anyway, that's about it. So let's wrap up here, and thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you on campus here in September.